hope you're having a good day. So today I'm going to be making digestive biscuits, which were originally developed in Scotland in 1839 by these two doctors who wanted to make something to help people with their digestion. The doctors believed that the use of bicarbonate of soda in the biscuits acted as an antacid, so it kind of neutralised the stomach acid, which was supposed to help with digestion. I don't know whether this is true or not, but nowadays people just use baking powder instead, because bicarbonate of soda leaves like a soapy taste in the biscuit, and baking powder has been kind of formulated to avoid this. There's also one other major change that I'm adding to this recipe, and that's my use of rye flour. So traditionally, digestive biscuits use brown flour, but for my recipe I'm going to use whole grain rye flour. I'll explain more about the differences between the flours later on in the video, but just for now, I picked rye flour because I like the flavour. It has a low protein content, so it's going to give us that short, snappy biscuit. And because it's a whole grain flour, it has a lot of nutrients, so it's kind of harking back to the digestive biscuit, this like thing that's supposed to be good for you. I think using rye flour kind of makes it a little bit more healthy. But that's about everything for the introduction, so let me show you how to make them. So first, you're going to start off by rubbing together 115 grams of unsalted butter that we've cubed into 240 grams of your flour. So for mine, I used this whole grain rye flour, but you could use brown flour if that's what you want to do. The important thing for this step is that the butter's cold. We don't want to melt the butter at all, because this is going to completely ruin the texture of our biscuit. So the butter's got to be cold, and you want to try and just use your fingertips for this, because this is the coldest part of your hand, and it means you're not going to warm the butter up as much. On the large scale here, it looks like we're coating the butter in flour, but actually on the microscopic level, the opposite's happening. So we're coating individual pockets of flour with butter. This basically closes it off and seals it from any moisture that we're going to add later on, and also prevents the flour from joining together to make these long gluten strands all the way through the dough. So as a result of this, we basically get a short, snappy biscuit with what's called a short texture. You want to just rub this together until you get kind of small pebble-sized lumps. And when you've got to that stage, you're going to want to add your sugar, salt and baking powder. So I used 95 grams of icing sugar, 50 grams of light brown sugar, I like the caramelized taste this gives, half a teaspoon of salt, and then 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I'm then going to mix that through until it's combined, and then in this little jug here I've got 60 millilitres of milk. So I'm not going to add all of this at once, I'm going to add about 2/3 of it, and just see how the mixture looks. This depends on how your flour hydrates, I've discussed this before, and the protein content and all of that. But I added about 40 millilitres, mixed that together, and it got to the texture that I was looking for, the kind of one big mass that kind of holds itself together. And you can also see that the dough's coming away from the sides of the bowl, which is what we want. So then put some just plain flour on my work surface, and then I just roll the dough out until it was about half a centimetre thick. I've got this cookie cutter here, I don't know how big it is, you can kind of see up here how big it is, I'll put it down here as well. And then just cut out circles of that, and place them circles onto a baking sheet, and then poked it with a chopstick. I don't know if this is necessary, but with a lot of biscuits they just do it, so I thought I'd do it as well. And then bake these at 180 degrees for 20 minutes, turning halfway through. So you could just leave it here as a plain digestive biscuit, these do taste great, but we want to go one step further, and we want to ascend to the higher echelons of digestive biscuits, so we're going to cover them with dark chocolate. And actually this is like McVitie's most popular digestive biscuit, I've got it on Wikipedia here. In 2009, the McVitie's chocolate digestive biscuit was named the most popular biscuit in the UK to Dunkin' Tea, so that's what we're going for. So to coat the biscuits, I took 90 grams of dark chocolate and just melted it in a microwave. You could try and temper this if you wanted to get like a nicer sheen, but I just melted it normally. So with that chocolate, I tried a few different techniques here, but I'll show the best one here for you. So the best technique I found for this was to hold the biscuit in my left hand, and then with my right hand, take my index finger and kind of scoop up a lump of chocolate, drop it straight on top of the biscuit, and then go in circular motions, kind of evenly spread the chocolate over the top of the biscuit. You have quite a lot of control over how thick the chocolate is here, so the biscuits were still kind of warm, so the chocolate was pretty smooth and fluid. So if you don't want it too thick, you can just scrape any excess off, or you can leave it, and as the chocolate cools it gets thicker, and you can decide to scrape less off or whatever. You kind of have full control over it, and after a few biscuits you'll get the hang of it. And before it sets fully though, I took the tip of my index finger and just scraped across from left to right all the way along to make these horizontal lines, which I think looks quite nice. And I've got one of the best ones here to show you on camera, so I'm hoping that focuses, and you can see that there. They're nice even lines horizontally all along it. And I'll show you the back actually, there's a bit of chocolate on there, but we've got like a nice golden colour. And then I will try and show you the snap. I'm going to have to put the microphone down for this. You will definitely be able to hear this though, so I'll give it a try. I was told to try and eat some food on camera. That's my verdict. I'll try and be unbiased. The dark chocolate is quite powerful. I actually prefer the plain biscuits to the dark chocolate covered ones. Might be a controversial opinion. I think the rye flour just tastes so good. It's kind of a little bit caramelized, not burnt. You can tell it's definitely not burnt. It's just caramelized and darkened, and it gives it this kind of like nutty flavour to it, which I really like. So just while we're at the end of the video, I'll explain the different types of flour. I really want to go over this because it is pretty interesting and I learned a lot about it today. There's a couple of different layers to this. So wheat is a type of grass, and the wheat produces a seed which is called a cereal grain, and it's this cereal grain that we get flour from. So I'll put a diagram of the cereal grain up here. There's a few different layers to it. So there's kind of the bran on the outside, the endosperm on the inside, and then the germ at the bottom. It basically depends on how you mill this, changes the kind of flour you get out at the end. So white flour is just the endosperm, 100% endosperm. Brown flour is the endosperm plus a little bit of bran and a little bit of germ. And then wholemeal or whole grain flour is just the whole thing mashed up. And this is what rye flour is. That's why I kind of like it, these extra nutritional things from the bran and the germ. They're supposed to be quite good for you. And then rye on its own as well is pretty unique compared to other brown flours. So there's two types of proteins in these flours that we really care about, glutenin and gliadin. Some rye flours can actually have protein content as high as 16%, which is very high. So just for comparison, very strong bread flours, which are used for their protein content, are as high as like 15%. So rye is actually super high in protein, but it's the wrong kind of protein. So this 16% is all gliadin, and it's the glutenin which actually makes the long strands, that makes the bread kind of elastic. So we kind of get high protein content, but we still maintain the short texture that we want for these biscuits. So it's kind of the best of both. I don't know whether you eat biscuits to get your gains and get your protein, but this kind of helps a little bit along the way, right? But mainly the flavour's good, and we keep maintaining that good short texture that we want for the digestive biscuit. So if you enjoyed this video, I really hope you make these. These are great. I'll leave my Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, socials and stuff down below if you want to contact me if you make these. Yeah, please do make them. I think they're great. I'll be back again on Thursday when I'm finally going to be making the monster hash browns from Genshin Impact. After like 2 weeks now, we're finally getting around to it. And then next week I've got some Valentine's Day special videos planned. They're pretty ambitious, but hopefully they'll work. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.